Alright, guys, so I'm actually going over this crazy shit with Destiny and Piers Morgan. Um, I don't usually go over, like, news stories and, like, videos like this because it just seems like my memory in my data for my tablet and shit can't handle it. But, this is basically an experiment with my tablet, but I've been wanting to cover this for fucking a while. And I'll state my opinion towards the end.
Congressman Corey Mills, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers. Honored.
Well, joining me now is commentator and streamer Destiny, host of the Dave Rubin Show, Dave Rubin, co-founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the Outkick host, Charlie Arnold. Well, welcome to all of you. Cenk Uygur, we've spoken a lot about this presidential race over the last year. Where are we now with this?
So basically, everybody on this panel will probably be a spectrum of wrong or overly hyped. Cenk Uygur, he's always screaming, and there's this meme about him where there's this sweat index. Because once he gets fired up, the dude talking right now, if you haven't noticed, I assume if you're watching this, you probably know who these people are, but anyways.
Pick up the campaign to oust Biden again, because he's clearly not going to win. All the interviews are disasters. I don't want to surrender to Trump, but apparently...
Yeah, nobody wants to surrender to Trump, but we gotta be honest with ourselves. Biden is a bumbling buffoon, and he can't do it. And nobody is saying, hey, Trump, we want you to be president. People who don't want to be president aren't even going to vote for him just because they say, fuck Biden. Like, unfortunately, that's how it is in the two-party system, obviously. That's not to be defeatist. There is a way out of this. Probably not in our lifetime, though.
The Secret Service or the Biden administration allowed the shooting to happen.
Well, no, nobody implied that.
Nobody definitely did, Piers.
Well, I said
you kept talking about, well, look, I'm not saying conspiracy.
There was negligence, for sure.
It's so easy to find. Why didn't they find it? And you didn't just say negligence.
Hang on, I did.
And forget about you, Corey Mills.
Right, okay.
He didn't say,
hey, look, okay.
He said, maybe it's not just malpractice. Maybe it's not just negligence.
I didn't say that.
Is a lunatic suggesting...
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah.
Before therapy, I blamed everyone else for my problems.
Sorry, guys.
After therapy, I realized that the biggest problem was me.
Am I allowed to respond?
Hello, I'm Bob Kitchen. I'm the IRC's Vice President.
Oh, what a trap. Makes you think you're safe, and then it just brings up, wow.
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I didn't say anything that you just
I wanted to mock Cenk Uygur for being like, but, I'm sure most people, and myself, would be caught in that verbal predicament.
Recently, the President of the United States, and is very likely to be again, was shot from 150 meters by a kid with an AR-15 who was seen by spectators nearly a minute before he unloaded 8 bullets in the direction of Donald Trump. Is very, very strange. And if you don't think it is, then I think you're being a little bit disingenuous. Now, what is the nature of that strangeness? We don't know what's happened here, right? But no one can yet give a
we know.
explanation.
This is happening all the time in America.
Piers, if you say it's negligence, I'm with you. If you say it's malpractice, okay, I get it.
What's happening in America to children from gun violence is malpractice, yes.
That it is odd, as in
it just happened to take its toll to the president.
No, by the government.
No, I'm not. I don't know.
Hey, get out of here, man.
What the hell?
Jesus Christ with these lunatic Republicans. Total lunatic Republicans. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me your lunatic conspiracy theory about how odd.
I don't have any lunatic conspiracy theories. Do you not think it's odd, Cenk Uygur, that this kid could stroll across a roof unmanned and just fire off 8 bullets at President Trump from 150 meters? Do you not find that odd?
So I find it deeply troubling. I think that there should be an investigation to see how they screwed this up. I think the fact that they didn't get there on the roof quicker speaks poorly of them. On the other hand, can we acknowledge that the Secret Service surrounded the president and would have taken a bullet for him and would have died for him, but all they're getting now is odd conspiracy theories about how maybe...
Actually,
aren't you implying... Hold on, Piers, you tell me. Aren't you implying that they let it happen?
No,
Aren't you implying that?
No.
Obviously. What does odd mean? What does odd mean?
No, I'll tell you what
odd means.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
what
Piers
odd
is
means.
definitely dodging
Odd
his
means
own
that
language.
The Secret Service's primary function is to preserve the life of whoever is President of the United States, right? And they allow this roof to be unmanned.
Allow. They use the word allow.
Okay, somebody made a decision not to have that roof patrolled, even though... As
you don't even know that.
Hang on. Well, somebody did because it wasn't patrolled.
No, that's also not true.
But it is,
so look,
it is true.
Piers, we don't know the last time they looked at that roof. We don't know if they looked at it and then the guy crawled on.
Here's what we do
now. You mentioned, hold on.
There was nobody on the roof from the Secret Service. Why?
So you're telling me that you know...
Sorry, there was a car going by.
Biden, Trump, and all the other presidents, that every roof had a Secret Service person on it in every rally. You don't know that. You don't know that.
Can you ever remember a president or presidential candidate who was a president giving a speech at a public rally where a roof 150 meters from his head is unprotected by Secret Service? Can you name once
ever
that that's happened?
That's such a crazy question.
You know that. You don't know anything.
And it's only recently, supposedly, I don't know how recent, supposedly after this Trump situation, we're just like, oh no, we gotta like stop being around roofs when it comes to these rallies. I mean, we definitely didn't stop doing that.
Actually, the congressman that I spoke to was on the sniper protection detail for Joe Biden when he was vice president. He probably knows more about it than you do, with great respect. Unless you're about to tell me you are a covert sniper protector, are you?
No, I'm telling you that we don't know anything about when they checked the building. We do know that there was a red-haired guy who talked to the BBC. He told the cops, then the cops showed up. It's not like they didn't show up. And so if you say, hey, we should investigate and find out when was the last time they did the perimeter check, when did they get on that roof, I totally agree. If you say negligence, I totally agree. If you say Trump was brave,
why can't he say negligence?
I totally agree. But if you start implying, which you definitely are, and Corey Mills definitely is, that it was planned.
It's odd.
That it was so odd that it happened. You're saying it like the Epstein
yeah.
thing was odd. The Epstein thing was actually odd. So the video camera's out. That makes me think, yes, there was something planned. I'm brave enough to say that. Instead, you're implying it, Corey Mills is implying it, so just say it then.
No.
Don't tell, what does odd mean?
Okay, again, I will say to you, I am not saying anything was planned. I'm not saying there was any inside job at the Secret Service to allow this to happen. I am simply saying...
You're implying that. You got that, right?
Here's what I'm implying.
Here's what I'm implying. The viewer's going to think.
Here's what I'm implying. There was such a catastrophically negligent failure here by the Secret Service. I completely understand why so many people are utterly bemused that this could ever have been allowed to happen. The idea you have a perfect vantage point over Donald Trump from 150 meters at a public rally, given how divisive and polarizing he is, given how vehemently some people hate him, and given the threats of violence he's had on many, many occasions, the idea that that roof remained unmanned by Secret Service is to me very bloody odd, Cenk. Yes.
So you're implying that there is a chance that it was planned?
No, I'm not. I'm implying
that's literally what you just said.
Literally what I'm doing is implying that there's something we don't know about what's happened here, and we need some answers.
What would it be?
We need some answers I have no idea. I don't know. Now, let me go to some of the other panelists, because we've expended
Piers
a lot of
doesn't
energy on
want
this.
an answer, honestly.
I think, Cenk, you have to go, so I appreciate you.
Unless it's like
Thank you for joining me.
an oppositional attack, like the left or a liberal being the one to do it.
If you can't raise questions, serious questions about what's happening,
Didn't we already at this point, when this situation dropped, we knew they were a Republican, a registered Republican, so, and it said that they flip-flop on their politics a little bit, so it doesn't make them a die-hard Democrat, leftist, or Republican if that's the case. Just a disenfranchised American.
Yeah, well, Piers, I haven't been on camera with that guy in about 8 years, but I'm just reminded of the brain-piercing, serious headache you get listening to him. You just laid out very calm and cogent questions as to what happened to the man who was the ex-president and could be future president of the United States. There was either a catastrophic failure, which we're all acknowledging, or something more nefarious. All we can do is ask questions. The red-headed guy with the visor who was interviewed on the BBC saying that it was
it's a little more nefarious that this guy
we'll
managed to become president.
About 2 minutes before, where he was warning law enforcement that there was someone on the roof. Well, in 2 minutes,
there should have been more protection, I think.
Right here. That's what all of the agents around there have, and they're all connected to a network of people who are telling them where to look.
But it makes sense there wasn't.
I'm not of course, and
just
I'm not
saying.
An expert in this, but we all know this. Corey Mills happens to be an expert, and your interview was quite good with him. So the idea that 2 minutes went by and nobody looked at the roof, and by the way, the Secret Service director is now saying the reason they didn't have anyone staged on that roof was because there was a slope on the roof, and they didn't want one of their agents to get hurt. I mean, I've got roofers out on my roof right now. There's a little bit of a slope. They have special shoes. They make it work. The whole thing is insane, but I would say at the political level, this has re-energized not just the Trump base, which was energized, but this new wide swath of disaffected liberals and UFC fighters and NFL players and just good, decent Americans to realize that Donald Trump is not the enemy right now. And this fake call for unity. Yes, I would like unity in a land of unicorns and everything else, but you can't on one day spend 4 years basically calling the guy Hitler.
Just after this event with Destiny and Piers Morgan, Ruben, and this chick happened, the day 3 or day 4 presidential thing happened with Hulk Hogan and shit, so that's ironic.
Dance his way out of this by claiming, I didn't say crosshairs, as if somehow when you talk about human beings, bullseye or crosshairs mean any difference. Obviously he didn't mean, I think Donald Trump should be shot, but obviously if you're a deranged young lunatic with an impressionable mind, who the hell knows what that kind of language, we don't know yet, right, about any of the motivations. Apparently there's a kind of very, very strange, again, a very strange lack of information that they've been able to find out about this young shooter.
You're the guy with the gun, the person who would do anything to protect the ones you love. But did you know you could go to jail?
That they've been able to find out about this young shooter.
Of course, but you also have to understand that there has been an entire media machine, mainstream media machine, and Democrat elite that for years, since before Donald Trump was president, have been calling Hitler and his supporters Nazis. What would someone do if they truly believe that? I'm not directly linking this to Biden's bullseye comment, as irresponsible as it may be, or anyone else's specific comment. But
there's an element of truth that there were some far-right people voting for Trump. And it was also disenfranchised, confused, and old people who just saw someone strong and, like, competent seeming. Obviously, they aren't savvy to do research, specifically the elderly, who would be caught up in voting for Trump. And they're not all Nazis, I'm pretty sure. So it is a little unfortunate that this rhetoric exploded since 2016.
Actually, where this leads to is where it's led to. And in Britain, we've had 2 members of Parliament in the last 10 years murdered by people for political reasons, basically because, lunatics have
but I'll get to that later.
To eliminate them. Let me bring in Destiny, because you've been at the centre, as you know, of a massive online response to what you were saying. And I want to go through what you said, and I want to talk to you about this hopefully in a calm manner to try and understand what you were thinking. So on Saturday evening, hours after the shooting, you said, let me clarify, when I say conflicted, what I mean is I lean towards seeing it as a natural extension of the thing Trump and the MAGA kids support. So I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt enough to chastise people celebrating it. You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry, and And the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country has seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation, is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio. You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government was trying to take all your freedom away. They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th. They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you. Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go and kill anybody. But when you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again, there is absolutely no room for you say, okay, but you say, okay. There certainly isn't room for you to ask for sympathy.
Absolutely true.
But Destiny, you say you don't want anybody killed, and yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. So people celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump, if you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people that you've just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
So you think behaving like the people you think are despicable is the
I
correct course of
guess
action?
it's true. Right-wingers did create this environment in terms of gun violence, but they're only a player. The politicians allow this to happen. So this would be like people arguing at the elderly generational warfare, like that the elderly are a burden. And so this is true if you don't take into account that they're just a player, and they could be flipped and changed a little bit through the elites, because they are holding the potential for multiple people's lives.
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like, it's so simple.
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has
But yeah,
their brain, thus leaving them with very
at the most basic level, yeah, most of the gun violence has been because of fear of like great replacement rhetoric, and so right-wingers lash out. Yes. This is a very unfortunate reality we live in America.
Destiny has said about that very thing. Let's listen to this.
Fuck it. Fuck the dude. The firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am. 100%.
So, as right as Destiny is, this definitely is not it. This ain't it, dude. You can't keep going that far.
Oh, it's not hand-wringing.
Hand-wringing. No, it absolutely is.
No, it's just that you are positioning yourself.
I think after Destiny is calling for the death of people, I feel like people have more leeway to say how wrong he is, because he's just like people calling for civil war.
Let me explain
Because he's just bloodthirsty at this point.
I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You'd like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful.
So those conservatives that don't give a fuck and are just bloodthirsty are out there. Piers Morgan's critique of Destiny right now is so surface level. It's like Destiny opened himself up for this, though. So, and not in the defending of Trump's assassination. Just things. He's opening himself up for violence with his rhetoric of, I'll laugh at you if you die, or something. Like, that's just crazy. Like, come on.
The reality is that conservatives have been turning the temperature up on the rhetoric. They have been making fun of these types of events for years, and now when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy.
Anybody else notice, like, when Destiny talks, his, like, bottom jaw, like, it goes side to side?
Why should anybody on the right listen to a word of your
Interesting.
hectoring and
Again,
lecturing
Destiny
about how they should behave. And by
is
the way,
right,
for the record,
but
the mockery of Nancy
he's
Pelosi's
lost
husband when he was
the
attacked by
debate
the
now,
with
I
a
think,
hammer
personally.
was also despicable. Right? I can see despicable behaviour on all sides, and I'm happy to call it out when I see it. You, however, want to present yourself as this great kind of standard bearer of decency, who sees outrageous behaviour on the right time and again, and is incensed by this disgusting, inhumane behaviour. And yet, time and again, since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, you have displayed exactly the same kind of inhumane behaviour. Fuck him about a fireman who is killed because he attends a rally of a guy he wants to vote for.
My issue with the MAGA kids is
Yeah,
not that
that's a
they are
bit
not
edgy.
empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States. I'm not here to tone police over their empathy.
18 million people voted for Donald Trump last time round.
This is already dehumanizing pretty much everybody there because of the whole calling people a fascist rhetoric. This is actually insane.
You don't like attacks on democracy, so presumably you would unreservedly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, because that's one of the most egregious attacks on American democracy of modern times. Presumably,
I don't think that
you will
anybody
take
should
this
be
opportunity,
trying to-
given you
I
are
don't
so
think anybody-
determined to protect the integrity of democracy, you would find it absolutely outrageous that someone has tried to assassinate a president, right?
If the other conservatives on this show want to say that it was absolutely outrageous
I'm
that
asking
Donald Trump
you.
attempted to coup the government,
I'm asking
then
you.
maybe I would. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy to conservatives that
I'm
have none.
asking for that. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell? Frankly, Destiny,
Absolutely not.
why the hell?
Trump becoming president is an egregious attack on democracy based on, like, everything that's behind him. It's like a trail of crimes, and I think all of that just went out the window at that event where when Hulk Hogan came out. That's crazy. That's just, I mean, he has presidential immunity, though, despite not being president, though he still has the protections. So, like, pseudo god level, even though Biden is technically the president, but he's frail, uninspiring. Like, he must know he's cooked. Democrats are constantly trying to get him out of office, so, you know, hypothetically, he could just be getting black bagged out of there.
What percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from Dave Rubin, has spent 8 years calling Donald Trump the new Adolf Hitler, a person who was responsible for the murder of 12 million people, including 6 million Jewish people, in a Holocaust? Last time I checked, Donald Trump hasn't murdered 12 million people. So much as you would like him to be the new Hitler, he's not. But again, to an impressionable young deranged mind who has easy access to guns, that can be easily interpreted as an existential threat, said President Biden. Somebody that needs to be put in the bullseye, said Biden.
Okay,
only last week. And guess what? Somebody then comes forward and tries to kill the existential threat.
Who is engaged in more divisive rhetoric over the 8 years? If you had to assign a rough percentage.
Again, you're playing whataboutery. Again, you're deflecting. Just as Joe Biden did last night. Just as Joe Biden did with Lester Holt on NBC last night. Every time he was asked, "Have you done any soul searching about your own rhetoric, your own ill-advised use of language?" He deflected it back to attacks on Trump, and you're doing exactly the same thing with Republicans.
And I will do the exact same thing.
You say Republicans
you want Biden
say that they are lacking in empathy.
When Donald Trump was saying Second Amendment people could maybe do something about Hillary Clinton. Like, no, it's absolutely deranged.
Wow.
The double standard that's being asked here is
Yeah,
insane. And you heard both of them
this
say
is
earlier,
true.
How much did Donald Trump's rhetoric contribute to the current environment? Oh, not
Destiny
much at
will
all.
be right the whole
No,
time,
I'm not saying
unfortunately.
People, of course not.
But then it's just,
See, Destiny,
as soon as he's calling for violence, on the level, like, he was always waiting for something like this.
And what has happened to our culture in the last 8 years? What has happened to our culture is that the
It's way more
mainstream media has
complex
lied
than
about
just whether it's
everything
bad or
almost to the
good that Trump was
detriment of right-leaning
attemptedly
people,
assassinated.
whether it's the Russia hoax or COVID or Brett Kavanaugh's a serial rapist or the Covington kids are racist or Jesse Smollett was hoax, was lynched, or whether it was very fine people on both sides. Every single lie always goes against right-leaning people. So they are slightly annoyed and distrustful of people like you and other people in mainstream media who lie about literally everything. So perhaps
in Ukraine, or like mRNA vaccines that are causing 20% excess deaths. There it is. Yeah, or the fact that COVID lockdowns were going to go on forever, and it was just an authoritarian abuse of power. Or, yeah, of course. Like, come on, dude. Conservatives are masters of misinformation, and it's happening right here.
All right, let me bring in Sean.
Unfortunately, misinformation just happens, but of course they're in opposition to like books and education, so I do think Destiny is sort of right.
Yeah, well, first of all, Destiny represents to me a certain subsect of the left, I won't call it everybody, who likes to bully others into saying exactly what they want to hear, and if they don't say it, then you all of a sudden are the problem. And they handle it exactly like he's been handling it on the show. It's like a child throwing a temper tantrum.
I somewhat don't think Destiny is a leftist.
You just kick and scream and yell until you ultimately say, I've had enough, just say what you want to say and back down. And that's exactly what we see a lot of times from people on the left. And it infuriates me, because just like we saw on Saturday with the near assassination of Donald Trump, which that is exactly what it was. It was an assassination attempt. Yet,
Jesus Christ.
Dave, like
so, obviously Destiny is right, but like I said, this ain't it. So I'm definitely not principally against the attempted assassination. It makes sense. It wasn't inherently terrible in of itself. I understand it's cathartic for some people. Destiny is right about the hypocrisy, but this ain't it. But it's not really so much about Trump being shot that's good or bad. It's everything around him, political division, and where right-wingers call for civil war, like Tim Pool, and mass gun violence in America as our culture. A normal part of America happened to take its route to the president. Plus, the shooter was a Republican, apparently, so it's not an oppositional attack. It would be like people cheering on criminals raping other criminals in prison. There's really no point in saying it's a victory. Maybe more inevitable. The negligence of the Secret Service is crazy, I guess. Though it makes sense because he burned every bridge and played the big lie saying fake this and lies that so much until he got his way. In some very dark, comical sense, Trump snuck out of a giant cloud of dust from all the leftist infighting, calling people fascists, and the Civil War talk from the right, where this problem rhetoric of fascism was outsourced to Judge Gaza for what Hamas planned from Qatar, letting genocide happen as Destiny has promoted his pro-genocide stance.
Of course I would be sad, it would be tragic, of course.
Meanwhile, Destiny doesn't think of the broader issue of the Trump assassination, just says, well, conservatives do death threats and shootings, so it's justified. Obviously, self-defense is good, and Trump is actually a terrible person, but it's really just the language that right-wingers look for with their Civil War frothing. I think leftists looking for fascist wolves were blinded to vote for status quo president, and unfortunately, we look like fools to vote for Biden. Well, me not personally. I don't think some of those people think. It's pure cathartic thinking to imagine taking him down will stop the project. I don't think Destiny has principles, and it shows from time and time again. Everyone on this panel is a different spectrum of wrong. It's not worth going over Morgan's comments. Not all of them, anyways. He's an unnuanced shill who has to be against violence at all costs, basically playing a centrist for the status quo. Sadly, the breakup of Tenacious D shows Jack wasn't willing to think and be a status quo centrist shill. Cancel culture might be another factor in walking the line, as the left and right have different moments. Leftist stereotype is not handling jokes, but the right, like Moms for Liberty, ban books. Which one is historically more disturbing, guys? Come on. Alright. I'll be back in the next one.